Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be reacting to my 5-star predictions video. So last year, I think it was around September or October, it might have even been November actually, I made a video with a list of books that I thought I was going to love. There was just something about them that I thought, you know what, I think I'm going to love that book. So I made that video and I'm pretty sure that I've read all of those books now. So I thought it might be quite fun to watch that video back and react and let you know, were they 5 stars? Did I actually love them or did I hate them? I mean, I'm pretty sure that I didn't hate any of them. I don't know though. I have looked at the list relatively recently. I think it was about a month ago because I wanted to check that I had actually read all of the books before I could do this video. So yeah, I'm going to watch it back and hopefully it won't be too cringe because I do tend to find it really awkward watching videos of myself back like months later, and this video was one of the first that I made on my channel, I think. When I checked the list a couple of months ago, I didn't actually watch the video, I just looked in the description because I'd listed all of the books there. So this is going to be the first time I've watched this video through since I made it. So we're going to see how it goes. Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sam and today I'm going to be sharing some of my 5-star book predictions. Okay, so first of all, I don't know why I sound like that. Do I sound like that now? I feel like I sound different in this video than I do now. And I'm pretty sure it's because when I first started, like my YouTube channel, when I first started making videos, I don't know whether it was just that I was self-conscious of my accent or whether it was because I was so nervous, I would stumble over words as I was filming. And so I used to pronounce stuff more properly than I do now. And my sister actually pointed it out to me because my family were the first people that ever watched my videos. And I remember asking her, what do you think of my videos? Is there anything I can do to improve? And all I can remember her saying was that, yeah, like they're good, but did you know that you talk a lot more proper than you do in real life? And I don't know why, I think is what I'm trying to say, but this is why I don't like watching videos of myself back, because I don't sound like myself, but then I didn't notice it at the time. And even now, I don't know whether I'm going to watch my videos back in a year and be thinking, yeah, you don't sound like that either. So yeah. This is going to be interesting. So the first book that I want to mention is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and from what I understand this is about a character called Alex Stern. Okay, yeah, so I did read Ninth House, I read it in January I think it was, and it was actually a 5 stars. I wasn't sure at first whether it was going to be 5 stars because the ending was very, very slow to build up and I wasn't really sure what was going on. There's a magic system within the book that I found a little bit confusing to get my head around, but once it got actually into the story and the mystery started to unfold, I absolutely loved it. And this is the first book in a series and I'm so excited for the next book to come out. I don't know when it's coming out actually. I don't know whether it's coming out this year or I don't think it's coming out this year actually. I think it's coming out next year, but I need book 2 and I will probably reread book 1 before book 2 comes out because I'm sure that there must have been some things that I didn't pick up the first time around. I've just thought I should probably explain what these books are about because I do it in the video, but I might cut those bits out because we don't need to see me try and explain books that I've not read yet. So Ninth House is about a character called Alex Stern. It's dark academia and it's also a mystery. So you follow this character Alex who's accepted into Yale University and she's part of this secret organisation that monitors these secret societies at Yale who use different types of magic, and then a girl in the local town is found murdered and Alex has to investigate to see whether one of the secret societies is responsible. It's very dark and it also has quite a lot of trigger warnings, like some very serious trigger warnings, so I will leave a link to the Goodreads page in the description if you did want want to find out more, if you wanted to check those over. So the next book on my list is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and from what I understand, this is about a character called Rin who is accepted to train at this prestigious military school. Yeah, so I read The Poppy War quite recently, and this is a military-inspired fantasy that follows a girl called Rin, and the first half of the book has this military school setting, and then the second half has much more of a focus on war. And this is another book that has some very serious trigger warnings because it does focus on war, so I would really recommend looking those up if you are thinking of reading this. It's also based on actual Chinese history, like some of the events in the book and a lot of the politics are inspired by actual Chinese history, which I think is really important to know going into the book, because some of the stuff that happens is really, really horrific, and it's stuff that I had no idea about before I read the book. But I did actually really enjoy this book. I would say that I enjoyed the sequel a lot more. So the sequel's called The Dragon Republic, and I did give that 5 stars. The Poppy War, I think I gave 4 stars. It was between a 3 and a 4 for most of the book because I found the pacing and the timeline of the book very jarring, and there were certain parts that just seemed to go really, really quickly. And there was something about the world building that I also struggled to grasp because it felt very info dumpy in places. But a lot of the issues that I had with the first book, I didn't have with the second book, and I'm really excited to read the third book. I'm hoping to get round to it in July, maybe, and that is also a 5-star prediction, so yeah. The next book on my list is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas, and this is a romantic adult fantasy. Okay, yeah, so I did read House of Earth and Blood, or Crescent City. What did I call it in this video? The name of the series is Crescent City, and the book is actually called House of Earth and Blood, so it's the first book in a series. I did read this. I actually did a full spoiler-free reading vlog, which I'll leave a link down below if you did want to check it out. I think I gave it 4 stars, but it was probably more like a 3.5, but I'll leave a link to the reading vlog in the description of this video if you wanted to find out more. I'll also leave a link to Jess Owens's recent book community video in the description, because Sarah J. Maas has received a lot of criticism recently, which I don't want to go into in this video, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you want to find out more, then I will leave a link to that video in the description. The next book on my list is a book that a lot of people have been talking about recently and that you might have already heard of, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Schwab. Yeah, so I also read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I didn't give 5 stars. I think the main reason I put this on this list is because everyone was talking about it. Even before it came out, I saw a load of booktubers who had ARC review copies, and they were talking about how amazing it was, and I did think that the story sounded really interesting. I listened to this on audiobook, and I did really like the narration, and I thought the narrator did a really good job of building the atmosphere and bringing the different emotions, because this book is about a girl called Addie LaRue who makes a deal to live forever, but the consequence of that is that she can never be remembered, and so she lives for about 300 years, I think it is. So there's a timeline in the past where you follow Addie and her life, and then you also see her in like the present day, but I think it's 2014, around then. You see her as she meets someone in a bookstore who does remember her. I did have a few issues with this in the beginning because I found it quite boring and repetitive, and I didn't really warm to Addie as a character, and the book does focus a lot on her. However, once the other perspective comes in, where you meet the person that when you meet the person that does remember her, that whole storyline and that present day storyline I did find really interesting, and I did like the ending because it didn't end how I was expecting. One thing that I found with this book was that every so often I would think that I had predicted something that was going on or that was going to happen, and it turned out that I hadn't predicted it, and that I'd only half worked out what was going on, if that makes sense. But I would still recommend this if you like slower paced books and if you think that the concept is interesting. I did really enjoy it overall, and I would recommend the audiobook if you do like listening to audiobooks. It's available on Scribd actually in the UK, which is how I listen to it. Did I say my rating for this? I think I gave it 4 stars in the end. It was another one of those books where I was between a 3 and a 4, but because I did like the narration on the audiobook, I decided to bump it up to 4 stars. The next book on my list is Beartown by Fredrick Backman, and I really hope I pronounced his name right. Yeah, so I read Bear Town, I think it was in December, which was actually a pretty good time of year to read this book because it's set in this Swedish community where it's very icy and snowy, and where the community are very, very focused on the local hockey team. So there's this junior hockey team where the players are doing really well and they're rising through the leagues, and there's about to be this very important match that if they win this match, then it's not just going to bring glory to the town, but it could also really rejuvenate the town, because a lot of people in this town have started moving away for jobs. There's not really much going for it at the moment, but if the hockey team win, then it'll bring tourism and there'll be this new stadium built, and so it's going to bring jobs, and generally it'll be a really, really positive thing. However, around halfway through the book, there's this event which divides the community and puts the town on opposing sides, and I knew what happened before I went into this book because it is a trigger warning, but I know that some people consider that a spoiler, so I won't say it in this video, but if you want to find out more, if you want to check the trigger warnings, then I'll leave a link to the Goodreads page in the description. But I did love this book. I gave it 5 stars. I really like Fredrick Backman's writing, and I have since this read his other book, A Man Called Uwe, and I really enjoyed that too. I would actually say that I enjoyed A Man Called Uwe more, but I did also enjoy this book, and so just in general, I really want to read more of Fredrick Backman's books because I do like his writing style. The next book on my list is With the Fire and High by Elizabeth Acevedo, and Elizabeth Acevedo is a really interesting author for me. Yeah, so I listened to this on audiobook actually, and it's another 5 stars. I had a feeling, you know, that I would enjoy the audiobook for this because I read Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo last year, I think it was, and I liked it, but I felt like I would enjoy it more as an audiobook because I've heard from a few people that her writing style does work well on audio, and the audiobook is narrated by Elizabeth Acevedo, and she has this amazing way of bringing the characters to life, and just, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to even explain this well, but the characters felt like real people. So this follows a girl called Amani, who I think she's 17. She's a senior in high school and she has a young daughter that she obviously has to take care of, but she's also got this ambition to become a chef. And at the start of the school year, there's this new course, this new lesson that becomes available, which is all about the culinary arts. And obviously she wants to take this course, but she has to juggle it alongside looking after her daughter. And the book is essentially, would you describe it as a coming of age story? It's really beautifully written, and I felt like Amani was a real person as I was reading it. And just the descriptions of food in this book made me hungry. Like, I actually listened to this mostly while I was cooking because if I listened to it at any other time, it would just make me want food. But yeah, if you're looking for a young adult contemporary, I would really recommend this, and I would especially recommend the audiobook. I've read all of Elizabeth Acevedo's books now and enjoyed all of them. I've also read The Poet X, and I give that 5 stars as well. I gave this 5 stars. Have I said that already? I really, really love her books. The next book on my list is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, so Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, I read it last year. I think I read it for the 1,000 Doors Readathon because it fit one of the prompts for that, and I gave it 5 stars, which I don't give thrillers 5 stars very often, but the atmosphere in this book just, oh my goodness, like the tension. I was on edge the whole way through reading this. So this follows a character whose name I can't remember, but basically when she was a child, she lived in this house with her parents, and one evening they fled overnight and didn't, look back because they claimed the house was haunted, and her dad actually wrote a book about their experience, which became a bestseller, and it's haunted. Ironically, it's haunted this character. I can't remember her name. Why can't I remember her name? Did I say in the video? Thriller about a woman called Maggie. Okay, so it follows a woman called Maggie, and she learns at the very start of the book that her dad has passed away, and she didn't realise, but her parents or her dad still owned this house, and so she inherits it, obviously, and she goes back to this house for the first time since she was a toddler. Or how old was she when they left? I think she was very, very small, but she goes back to this house with the intention of renovating it and doing it up to sell it on. But when she arrives, this weird stuff starts to happen, and she starts to wonder whether her dad was actually telling the truth, or is there a more simple explanation? And that is one of my favourite tropes. I love haunted house settings where you're not sure, is it paranormal, is it supernatural, or is it just something regular and human? And that is what you're trying to work out throughout this book. It's also a book within a book, so you have chapters from Maggie in the future or in the present day, and then you also have chapters from her dad's book which tells what happened to them in the past. So yeah, really enjoyed this book. Would definitely recommend if you're looking for a thriller and you like that mysterious haunted house trope. The next book on my list is 50/50 by Steve Cavanagh, which is a crime/legal thriller. Yeah, so I read 50/50 in January, I think it was, and I did give it 5 stars. We're seeing a pattern here. Am I a lot better at guessing my own taste than I thought I was? Maybe, but I really, really love this series. I've read 13 and 50/50, both by Steve Cavanagh, and they're both part of the Eddie Flynn series, but the series is written in a way that you don't have to read the books in order. You can just read them as standalones, but they all follow this guy called Eddie Flynn, who is a lawyer but used to be a con artist. And in this particular book, you're following Eddie as he represents one of the sisters in this murder case. So there's these 2 sisters that have both accused the other of murdering their father, and one of them is telling the truth and one of them isn't. But the way that the story is written, you're not sure who is telling the truth, because both of them could be the murderer. As you're reading it, you're kind of, I changed my mind so often in this book, and I did not see the ending coming. It's so well written and there's so much tension. I'm pretty sure that I read it in a day or less than 2 days because it was so gripping and I couldn't put it down. The next book that I want to mention, which isn't actually coming out until next year, however I do have an advanced copy through NetGalley that I'm hoping to read at some point soon, and that is The Whole Truth by Cara Hunter. Yeah, so I read The Whole Truth a couple of months ago, and I did do a reading vlog where I read 3 thrillers that all came out earlier this year. So if you want to see my full thoughts, then I will leave that linked in the description and in the cards. I can never tell which side it is, but I did read The Whole Truth and it was a little disappointing. Like, I did really enjoy it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars though, because in comparison to the rest of this series, I don't know what it was about this particular book, but it just didn't seem to grip me as much as the others. I enjoyed my time reading it, but I can't even really remember it now. The whole premise behind the book is quite interesting because it follows a student at this local college who accuses their professor of sexual assault. But what's interesting about this case is that the student is a male rugby player and the professor is a female tutor. And Cara Hunter's books I really enjoy because they are very twisty, and this did have a few twists but not as many as I remember the other books having, and so I don't know whether it's fair to say that I was disappointed. Maybe I did just hype it up in my head. I would still recommend this series as a whole, and actually I think maybe I would have enjoyed this book more if I'd read the series like all the way through again, but I don't tend to reread thrillers, and so yeah, I would still recommend this series, but this wasn't my favourite in the series. To be fair, I didn't guess the ending to The Whole Truth, so in that sense it did a pretty good job, but also I didn't like the ending. I think that it is just like one of those things where some people will love it and some people won't, but I didn't. But I couldn't see it coming, so that was a good thing. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the video, and I am really surprised by how accurate this video was, because even though I didn't give all of the books 5 stars, I don't think I gave any of them less than 3.5 stars, which is a good rating, and so apparently I'm pretty good at guessing my taste in books. But then again, A lot of the books on this list were very, very popular and were very hyped, and I do tend to like popular and hyped books, so maybe when I do this video again, because I am planning to film another video like this soon with some more 5-star predictions, maybe when I film my next 5-star predictions, I should pick lesser known books that maybe aren't as hyped, and so I won't have that preconception beforehand. I don't know, but yeah, let me know in the comments if you've read any of the books that were on this list, and let me know if you gave them 5 stars and what you thought of them. And also don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.